All right, so if you're in trading technology, you've heard the term fix thrown around constantly. But what is it really? How does it all connect and work together? Today, we're going to peel back the curtain and build a really clear, solid mental model of the fix architecture. And by the end, you'll see exactly why this thing is the absolute backbone of modern finance. Let's dive in. So, a question that almost everyone has at the beginning is, is fix just one big single thing? And it's a totally fair question. You send a message, it gets there, seems pretty straightforward, right? But that's not quite the whole picture. And yeah, while most beginners think of it that way, the reality is actually a lot more organized, and I'd say a lot more elegant. See, fix isn't just one giant block. It's made up of distinct layers, and each one has a very, very specific job. Getting a handle on these layers is pretty much our entire goal for this explainer. Let's start with a really simple analogy that I think helps a lot. Sending a letter. You've got the person who writes the letter, the actual content. Then you have someone who puts it in an envelope, addresses it, and drops it at the post office. And then you have the whole postal system itself, the trucks, the planes, the sorting facilities, that just focuses on delivery. Each piece has its own job, and as we'll see, fix is set up in a very similar way. Okay, so before we can zoom in on fix, we have to zoom out a bit and see where it actually lives. We kind of need a map of the entire trading technology landscape to figure out fix's specific neighborhood. So let's map out a simple trade flow, just like we're drawing it on a whiteboard. It all kicks off at step 1, the trader's UI, maybe an OMS or an EMS where they click buy 100 shares of Apple. That instruction gets handed to step 2, the client's fix engine. Now, a fix engine is this specialized bit of software that's part translator, part traffic cop. It translates that trader's click into the formal fix language, and then it sends that message over step 3, the network. That's just the highway, the TCP/IP connection between the client and the broker. Over on the other side, at step 4, the broker's fix engine is waiting to receive and validate it. And finally, if everything checks out, it passes the instruction to step 5, the broker's internal systems, where the order actually gets actioned. So you see, fix is that crucial language spoken between those two engines in steps 2 and 4. Now, looking at that flow, let's zero in on something that trips up a lot of people when they're starting out. And that's the difference between the network itself and the information flowing through it. The best way I know to think about this is the pipe versus the water. The pipe, or the delivery truck, if we go back to that analogy, that's TCP/IP. Its only job is to give you a reliable connection from point A to point B. It guarantees that data gets there, that it's in the right order, and it handles resending anything that gets lost. But here's the key part. TCP has absolutely no idea what's in the message. It's just a delivery service. And that's where fix comes in. Fix is the water flowing through the pipe. It's the letter inside the envelope. It gives everything business context. TCP can deliver a stream of bytes, sure, but only fix can tell the system that those bytes actually mean new order, cancel this, or here's a price update. Okay, so we know where the fix engine lives and we know how it uses the network. Now let's crack it open and look inside. What might seem like one really complex machine is actually divided into 2 very distinct core responsibilities. The first of these is called the session layer, and its entire job, its entire world revolves around one basic question. Are we connected, and is our communication line healthy and perfectly in sync? It is all about control. So, the session layer handles all the nitty-gritty mechanics of the connection. It takes care of logging on and logging off. It sends out constant little heartbeats, which are just pings to say, hey, are you still there? To make sure the other side is listening. And this is probably the most important part. It manages message sequence numbers to make sure not a single message is ever missed. If it sees a gap, it automatically fires off a resend request. So really, the session layer is building this guaranteed, super reliable messaging protocol right on top of that basic TCP connection. It cares about reliability, not trading. A good way to think about it is like 2 airline pilots on a long flight. They're constantly doing radio checks, right? Confirming their status, acknowledging messages. They aren't talking about the passengers. They're totally focused on maintaining a stable, reliable link between their 2 cockpits. That's the session layer. Okay, now for the second layer. If the session layer handles the connection, then the application layer handles the conversation. Its big question is, so what do you actually want to do? This is where all the business meaning lives. And these are the kinds of messages it carries. These are the real deal trading instructions, sending a new order, getting a confirmation that an order was filled, or requesting to cancel something you've already sent. The application layer carries that pure business intent, and it completely trusts that session layer underneath it to worry about keeping the connection stable and reliable. And this is what's so beautiful about the whole design. It's this elegant separation of duties. The session layer is just the phone line. It makes sure there's a clear, stable connection. The application layer is the actual conversation happening on that line. And here's why this separation is so critical in finance. If the phone line drops, which happens, the session layer can reconnect and know exactly where the conversation left off, down to the precise message number. It can then resume the business flow without losing a single order. That capability alone prevents potentially catastrophic multi-million-dollar errors. It's what makes the whole design so incredibly robust. So let's just quickly recap the mental model we've put together. First, remember Fix is a standard for communication. It's not a single app. Second, that Fix engine is, at its heart, a reliability machine. It does this by splitting up its job. The session layer is always asking, are we in sync? While the application layer asks, what business action needs to happen? And underpinning it all, don't forget that TCP is just the highway that makes delivery possible, but it doesn't speak the language. When you put it all together, the whole Fix architecture becomes a lot less mysterious. It's really just an elegant stack of layers. You've got the basic plumbing and transport to make sure things get delivered, and then you have this powerful layer of business meaning sitting right on top. So we've mapped the world, we understand the different jobs each component has, and that brings us to the next obvious question. Now that we get the structure, what do these messages actually look like? What's inside that digital envelope? Well, we're going to crack one open and take a look in our next explainer. We'll see you then.